Welcome to today's Farm Life. I'm Doug Cunningham. Today we're up at Brian and Sarah Bode's place by Mount Vernon, South Dakota. They raise goats for commercial production. I found that inspiring. They found their own little niche in the specialty meat market or specialty meats. Sarah tells us a little bit more about it.
Well, we started with just a few bottle goats as a hobby, something to do in the winter. I've always crop adjusted or crop consulted, so I'm kind of bored in the winter. So we go to the sale barn and get a few bottle goats, and then we kept a few and started breeding them, and then we decided, well, if we're gonna be messing around with 15, we might as well have 100. So we ended up buying a herd of 300 and started with that and have just been culling and keeping back the good stuff, and now we've completely got rid of that herd and now we've backed everything we've raised. And I think we're at like 100 or 120 right now. This is what this pen is, and we're gonna raise them and feed them till they're 65 pounds or heavier, the wethers. We're gonna pick off the top 10% of the doelings to keep them back, and we'll breed them this fall to kid again in the spring, and the rest will sell probably a couple weeks before Christmas because the market is good then and they want the heavy wethers. And I think people will be looking for breeding doelings as well. So if you have a nice big group of them, people seem to like that, so they can just get the group, buy a couple billies, and they're ready to go. Because the gestation on a goat is only 5 months, so you don't have to plan as far ahead as like cattle. The only caveat to goats and dry lining is you need good fence. They will find a hole. The joke is, if water can get through it, a goat can get through it.
Now, Sarah did say that raising goats is rewarding, but it can be labor intensive.
Everything you pretty much do by hand. You know, during the spring, during kidding, when they start kidding, we carry all the babies and drag the moms to a kidding pen, so that way, you know, especially if they have 2 or 3, the kids can get going good and they make sure they accept them all. And we can make sure she has enough milk instead of trying to keep track of all these goats in the lot. And then when I'm satisfied, we'll tag them, give them shots, and let them go. And then we start creep feeding them at about a month, I'd say, and just keeping an eye on them. Sometimes we have to pull the bottle feed if we lose a nanny or has a bad bag, so that's a lot of work. That's 3 times a day. And then once we get to middle of June or July, depending on the weather and the kids, we wean and work. So we'll pull them off the nanny and haul them to this pen, and then we give them shots. We band the males, and then we leave them in this pen and feed them and let them grow. And we'll pick out what we want to keep for doelings, catch them all, give them their pre-breeding shots, and then the big herd, when it gets to be October, we run them all through, trim hooves, do pre-breeding shots, you know, make sure everybody looks okay, pour them, worm them, you know, get rid of anything we don't like. And then the billies we have to take and get semen tested, and same thing, shots, poured, hooves. So the market has been really hot. I know COVID has affected a lot of things negatively, but the goat market, it has been awesome. I mean, we've sold at record prices. I think it's because they've closed off imports, but we sold way up nannies, you know, the old nannies that needed to go for more than we paid for them.
Now, according to Sarah, raising goats is a family project because, according to her, the kids on that side of the fence and the kids on this side of the fence never get bored.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's the one reason we really like the goats. The boys, we have a 6- and 8-year-old sons, and they can be in there with the goats all the time. The nannies generally aren't mean. They might try to bite you, but after a few days, they're fine. And we don't let them in with the billies, but now they go in and they'll play with the kids. They do the watering. They take care of the bottle goats, so it's nice they can be involved. We don't have to worry about them getting hurt and stuff like with the cattle.
Brian and Sarah Bode carving out their own little piece of life on the farm right up here north of Mount Vernon, South Dakota. Remember, feel good about what you do today, because what you do today is very important. Until next time, for today's Farm Life, I'm Doug Cunningham.